In the first reading, my dear friends, we have a reference to the inner man. This week, I was living somewhat in contact with the inner man, more than usual, because by providence I was in a place where there was nothing but prayer going on. No talking, no internet, no visits, in practice no phone, no texting, except maybe at 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure there was nothing urgent, nothing but the vertical, and it hit me what we have lost. We have lost contact with the interior man. Indeed, occasion presents itself to preach on the matter, for I had been called there to help to clothe a postulant, to prepare her for that moment in which she put on, in an external way, what already she was living. And I would like to share with you one thought which I shared with them at the moment of clothing her. Already we had the conventual Mass in the morning, and we blessed the ancient habit, going back, of course, to the desert in practice with these Benedictine nuns. But then, in the evening, we had Vespers and a sermon, and in it hit me that one had to enter into the game that one was performing with the body. It concerns us all, as you will see. In question, there were 3 levels of enclosure. The first, the big iron gate that closes and leaves the world behind forever, in her case, at a very young age. The first stage is already important for those who make that option to live only for the invisible. But then there was the second stage, what we were putting on. What we put on also is not that far away from our soul, and we already observe something of the soul in what a person puts on. It's a statement to dress shoddily, on any occasion, but above all in the presence of the Lord and of his angels. It is an ancient Christian tradition to dress up and not down when we come to the house of the Lord, and to honour him physically in that way. That is fairly recent in going away in Ireland, shoddiness in church. People actually perform even public ministries shoddily, casually dressed, forgetting what they're doing. God is infinitely worthy. He is the High King. One wouldn't do the same in the presence of Queen Elizabeth or of Pope Francis. Why should Jesus Christ, the Alpha and the Omega, have less respect? We are body and soul, and the clothing is close to our soul, an expression of it. Think twice before dressing shoddily. In her case, of course, we were blessing this habit, and it was by then a sacramental, as are things which carry a blessing. But then there is the notion of corresponding with it, a dignity of bearing, with its ancient rules of never showing the hands. Hence it is that the scapula is there, and the hands must not be seen. Dignity, modesty, and hiddenness. But then there is the third level, and this applies to each one of us. It's not enough to stop even there at that level of enclosure. The soul is enclosed ultimately by the body. And the question poses itself, in my innings on earth, whether it's in that situation or in a family situation, am I inside or outside? Am I present to my soul? Am I living or am I functioning on the outside of my being in automatic mode without feeling life passing? And I pointed out, because there were lay people present, including the family of the lassie, that is the mode of all the young people out there in Western society. Look at them and also look perhaps at yourself. Is it or is it not true that you cannot bear the sound of silence? I mean deep silence, the silence that is heard. What do you do the first moment of freedom and solitude? Do you enter into its game, or do you cancel it by the many means of cancelling it immediately and irreversibly? But it hit me too, and if it hits me, it probably will hit you as well, especially of the younger generation. The difference between a week with none of that and the week with all of that is actually huge. Quality is lost by not having the sound of silence. A book has huge power when no other word is coming in. But there is more. Prayer also is affected. In a place of perpetual adoration like that, Jesus is the center of all, and automatically all present gravitate towards his throne. Physically, he is center stage and honored, and there one sees what one is here for. And after a while, it is not difficult to spend long moments there. Why? Because psychologically, one adjusts to the new sunlight. One adjusts to the absence of excitation. And one enjoys repose on a deep level. And then what happens? One is able to be worked upon. Because after a while, one's interior being has ceased to make noises. It can't happen coming just from loud bombardment. It takes preparation. And that preparation is the option that we have in the rest of our time. We need to be careful, because as one spends moments away from time, one sees time passing and time damaged, blighted, and actually sometimes ruined. Why? Because those moments weren't there to stop bad decisions being made. Because decisions have power over all time after them. And I thought, be careful. There are moments which are not having their effect until it's too late. And I just share this living parable with you, because actually it's what's happening right now in the old community when I was ordained. It's a typical example of what can happen when we actually take on too much in our short innings. Activism. It started when we started to build. We had a quiet monastery given to us by Providence, and we started to build new structures for young people, which then came by the 100. Okay? What happened? From being a contemplative community, it became an active community, and we couldn't see what was going on before our eyes by our own choices. Then we wanted to build more, I understand. We wanted to complete the ancient cloister, and pressure was being put on the authorities to make it happen. What happened? No, no, no. It must not be touched. So what happened? Interestingly enough, the brethren themselves decided to go to another monastery to have more space. And it's happening right now. They're leaving the monastery to go to another monastery, but then what happened? They didn't all agree. So what's happened? A decision ruining a monastery and closing it forevermore, and not saving another one because there aren't enough to do it. All, I think, because of the illness that's in us all that we can't see, we're taking on too much in our short innings on earth, and we can't see the devastation that we're doing to time given only once for all eternity. I leave it with you, my friends, because death is coming to us all, and one day we will look back once we're outside the enclosure of our body and perhaps think to myself, where did it all go so quickly? And why did I do so many things and miss the one thing that really mattered? We are what we were. There is a sadness in the universe that yawns a heavy pain. There is a sigh, a melancholy meant for ne'er a verse, and pierced by no pen. For moments high, with pressure doubly pressed, can linger on long after they have been. And we have seen the mighty deeds of mischief chiefly done when they had ceased to be what once had been. Oh, sounds of double pricking, come again and gain your lasting home within this land of thought and memory dense, and leave your pain a little longer, where no stronger hand could come and lift your plague, for nothing more than yesterday has power